Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Thoughts from Your Gal Pal podcast. My name's Clara. I'm the gal behind the thoughts. As you know, there is an open request for guests to be on the show, so if you want to have your moment of fame, I always feel like being in the newspaper used to be a big deal when we were kids. Like, oh, my soccer team won the county championships, but now it's like being on a podcast. So if you want to live that moment of fame, reach out to me. As I've said before, I'm disgustingly available. So literally just email, text, or DM me, and I will get back to you within 24 hours. It's gross. Today I have somebody who I'm a little intimidated to interview because I just met her, actually. No. I think we've known each other since we were probably 5 years old. So what's that, like
something like
10
that.
years maybe? Yeah, we're
15. Like 40.
No, 40 years. We went to elementary school and middle school together, but then there was a pivotal moment when we were 13 or 14. And it wasn't that one of us had our first kiss or got our period. It was that we went to different high schools. And then we went to different colleges, but after these, we always stayed in touch. And there's this meme, I'll have to find it and like put it on the live stream, of these dolphins. And it's like a dog and a dolphin jumping through the waves together. And it's like when you and your homie,
I know what you're talking about,
go down different paths, but you end up like you're still vibing with each other.
Yeah.
It's always been us. We've been apart but together. And then we lived together for a year and a half. And yeah, I just wanted to share one funny story about her. I know you can hear her little voice popping in here and there. We went to a stand-up show at the Laugh Factory in, I think that's what it is. Or no, Vortex.
Yeah,
the Vortex. And went to a show, and at the end, there was, like, you could write insults or, like, write jokes for the comics to read. It was, like, several comedians were doing it. And all of the ones that you submitted were chosen. Like literally everyone, like I shot my shot and like none of them were read because I guess I wasn't funny, but like literally everybody read yours because you were so good. Her laugh haunts me. She's my plus one. She's my Italy buddy. Emily Swift, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I am honored to be here.
You're honored to be here. I'm honored to be with you. So I always start with this. Give me the 1 minute flyover of your life. What do you do for fun? What do your days look like? And where are you joining me from today?
Today, I'm in Denver, Colorado. I have lived here for almost 4.5 months now. We just moved, which is kind of crazy. And it's my first time like ever making a big move since grew up, right outside Atlanta. Went to UGA, then lived in Atlanta post-grad. So it's been a super great experience moving out here. Drew and Zara and I all live together. Zara's
both your dogs. Yeah, 2 dogs.
Yeah. And Drew and I will actually have been dating for 4 years tomorrow, which is weird.
What?
Yeah. And
I remember when, I'm interrupting you, but I remember when we were moving into our place and you were like, yeah, I'm starting to date this guy. And he and his friend came over and helped you move.
Yeah.
Were your parents there too? I feel like that was a really
So they
nice
like very
moment.
briefly met. That wasn't like that was the first time they met, but like it wasn't like the first introduction type thing,
I remember that. And it was very new then, but it would have been around this time.
Well, because our apartment had no elevator.
Dating?
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Okay, I was about to say.
We were supposed to get tattoos on Tuesday, but the chick had to like reschedule, so that was kind of going to be our, I guess, celebration. But
are you getting the same ones or like different ones?
I think they'll be the same, but have like slight variations. It was when we did a birth chart reading, I think is what it's called, with her, and she's also a tattoo artist. Yeah, super cool.
To do that.
Her name is
so
Tattoos
Drew,
by Moonlight.
Who's your boyfriend, not your dog?
Yes, and then Zara's my dog. And then I do environmental consulting. So I'm in a climate change and sustainability group where I do kind of mainly environmental financial audit. I don't have to go too deep into that. And basically, I just like being outside as much as I can. Zara does not like walks as much as I do, but I make her go on 3 a day, which is nice. Here in Denver, it's almost sunny, like almost every single day. Even when it is snowing, it's still like a nice day outside. On the weekends now, it's been a really nice change of pace of life. Like we're just doing a lot more like camping, hiking. Like the we were both just kind of over the whole like weekend revolving around like where we're drinking type thing, and now we're still, having drinks, but like it's after like hiking up a mountain, like, and there's just so many places you can go near Denver within like this like 3 hour radius,
Hmm.
that we're pretty much getting out somewhere every weekend, which has been
I
great.
feel like
So
that's a good like a shift, and I've been thinking about this. I don't think I told you this, and total side story, but I was waiting for my friend on Sunday. Speaking of drinking, I was waiting for my friend outside. Her bus was running late to get brunch on Sunday morning. And there's a lot of these little like doors that lead to like second floor units or like second floor businesses. And she was late. So I was looking at this glass door and it had a posting on it. And it turns out it was like a community center for AA. And it was like AA meetings. And it was like just kind of like a community center in Lakeview. And this guy came out and he was so sweet and endearing and socially awkward, but like he asked me, "Oh, are you waiting on a meeting?" And I was like, "No, no. I was just curious. I was like, I'm just waiting for a friend."
yeah,
And I was in the shade. And he was very obviously like had just come from an AA meeting, which I'm like all the power to AA. But he was kind of weird and was like, "Do you want to go to coffee sometime?" And I just got to thinking, and I said, "No, I'm good," but I appreciate the boldness because I think he was like 45.
yeah.
And like I'm just painting a picture,
I
not
would be so
anything wrong
taken
with this.
aback.
I was very taken aback, and I totally respect like making conversation with strangers, but
Hmm.
he was very much not in my age range, and that was very obvious. He was wearing like these long black cargo shorts that like brushed his the bottoms of his knees, mismatching socks, and was like mounting his e-bike. It was just not a look that, and I was like, being nice to him, but not totally engaged. Like I
Inviting.
was,
Yeah,
looking around for my
yeah.
friend. And I just got to thinking, like, regarding your drinking, or not that you're not drinking anymore, but I
My
feel,
drink.
yeah, been meaning to tell you. But like, what do you do to ask somebody on a first date, or like, it's. I feel like it's such a fallback, easy and thoughtless way to spend time. It's really fun. I mean, I work at a bar,
Hmm.
but like, I feel
Yeah,
like
so I'm
you
like, I'm
would.
not anti it. Like, we were just over like that just being like what we were doing for the day, you know? Like, now it's like we have beers and like we're sitting around a campfire and like shit like that. So it's just a much
It's
more
better.
enjoyable and like, yeah,
Yeah, I can't wait
balanced, I guess.
to visit you. So I gave an intro to you. Do you want to give an intro to me? You don't have to. You
Sure.
don't need to
I
roast
can,
me
I guess.
because I'm sensitive
No,
about it.
no, but yeah, we've known each other since we were little, like you were saying, like just one of those kind of type friendships where like no matter what, we're always have stayed friends and kind of come back to each other even in like ebbs and flows of life. I feel like one of the I'm sure you'll remember this, but like something that just always comes to mind with like us growing up is I have like fond memories of going to your family's houses in like Alabama and stuff.
Okay.
And at one point, you said that like you were Gap and I was Abercrombie. And to me, it's just like the most, just like hilarious. And like, so that's just, I don't know, just like a
I
stupid
don't
thing
remember
that
that. I
I
am
don't like. I
so
just
gap.
associate with being like nerdy little kids. Like, that's just like
Oh, okay.
how we were. Like, no, like both of
Oh, I
us, but
thought you
like
meant me being gap was
not you.
no, we were
No.
I feel like we were not totally socially awkward. Like like you were definitely sportier than I was. Like I think my build cuz I'm 5'10", every like dad was like, "You must play volleyball." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "No, I don't like when people like contact sport me." And then meanwhile, you were like a lacrosse prodigy in the county cuz like literally the
Protege.
prodigy, the lacrosse program was just forming. And I remember like going to some of your games and I'm like, this scares the shit out of me. Like your goggles and your, like you always
I
had
know, it
that
was
braid. I
horrible.
was
The
like,
braid.
the
Yeah.
braid and the bow, and you were so good. And I just remember being like, I will never do this. So I found my happy zone in swimming where I could, I mean, not be
Just do your
scared,
own thing.
just do my own thing and not be like at risk of getting a welt the size of a tennis ball in my shit. Do you wear any also skirts?
Yeah, the skirts. Those were just annoying, honestly. Just picking wedgies the whole time.
Okay. Well, that was fun to reminisce, but I wanted you to be on the show, and there were a lot of different topics you could talk about, but I feel like one thing that we've always come back to in like staying in touch, and I feel like we're similar, but we not similar values. I don't want to like necessarily define this so formally, but like
Yeah.
I definitely like lead with emotion a lot of times, and I feel like you lead with facts. And I feel like you bring me down to earth sometimes. It's not that you're like devoid of emotion. I don't want to paint you as this robot, but
No,
I
I
do.
know. And I feel like sometimes people think that about me, and I'm like, just because I'm like a fairly calm, collected person doesn't mean like I
Do
have
you
no
have any
emotion
other
type thing. But
mistake or uh, 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 misconceptions that you want to clear up?
like, let's set the record straight. No, I mean that like I definitely get that a lot. Like, oh, you have no emotions, and it's like, I do. It's just like they're reserved for the people who are close to me. Like, other than that, I'm kind of unbothered by people and things that don't truly affect me and like my life overall.
This is what
But
I
that's
need
just
help
my
with.
an energy thing.
I mean, yeah, and I feel like I don't know how I feel about like, I like personality tests and I think they're like fun to chit chat about, but don't like to be
Hmm.
defined by anything. I mean, I discovered the Enneagram when I was living with you, and I feel like
Yeah.
that really was like so clearing as to who you were, and like you're the same type as my ex-boyfriend. So I'm like, wow, I'm around all of these fives when I'm a two or two wing three, but then your boyfriend is a three wing two and I'm a two wing three. So I just feel
Hmm.
like opposites attract, but we
Yeah, no, very much. In a complimentary way, not a just like we're opposites, like, type thing.
right. So I guess with that, like I guess not when did you realize you were different, but when did you realize like this was a skill? Like do people come to you for advice a lot other than me, or am I like the leech
Yeah,
on
I
your
was gonna
side?
say like no, like I feel like I didn't like think about it too much until kind of like more post college-ish, and then I kind of more like realized why and when people would come to me with things. So like you and then like Caroline's one of my best friends. Like you guys are very like emotive people. Like Haley is very sensitive. Like and so I just that's not usually my initial she's more sensitive. I don't know about necessarily like emotion driven as much, but definitely not as like logic based. She's more like, the creative type, just kind of does her own thing without basis and just whatever she feels like. So like the people that I surround myself do tend to be different from myself too. And so I did kind of come to realize like when people are coming to me, it's like you and Caroline kind of in a like help calm me down type state. And like I think I am good at that. So definitely that. But I mean, even like ever since I was like a little kid, like my mom said, I would like tell her how to organize things and stuff like that. Like I was not like I don't know, like I've just always been a little bit more like this is how it is. This is like things make sense. Let's do it that way type thing. Like
And I feel like
but not
my
like
mom
so
always
rigid
like,
like but
no, you're not rigid. You just like say the things
yeah.
that no one else is willing to say. Like, not that, again,
Yeah.
I don't want to paint you as this like unfeeling person. It's just, you're like, you know what? That's the way it is. And then you like leave
Yeah.
it
No,
there.
and that's I've like literally always been like that. So I don't know. And I that's what I hadn't like thought about it that much because that's
Right.
just how my brain works kind of until like as like my friendships, as we've grown up into more of like real ass adults and stuff and like the things we're talking about and
Yeah.
issues that we deal with and like what people do come to me and want to like talk to me about.
So
So
when
yeah.
you're, either making decisions for yourself, like moving to Denver, that was a big decision. And when we were in Italy, that's when you were first like, oh, Drew has this job. Like you were
Hmm.
your wheels were turning. Or if you were me or Caroline or Haley or one of your other friends comes to you, like what are the like how do you take this abstract like problem or thing and put it like how do you logicalize it for lack of a better word?
I love researching things to a fault probably like so I just love like it's very hard for me to make a decision until I feel like I understand everything about it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like a crux of my personality, I guess. So like I can have like, 10 or 20 browser tabs open just looking up like Zillow, neighborhoods in Denver, like things to do here, blah blah blah, like cost of living, etc. Um, Ultimately, like we knew it was a good fit for us since we wanted to start doing more things outdoors, and like it was kind of based on how and where Drew's company would move him type thing. But in general, like I don't like I love planning things. Like I really like condensing things down, like researching, condensing to like a few options, and then kind of going from there. And like once I have those options, people that I trust help me with like the once I get to like my kind of final list type thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think that it's a trait of the five is like, and this
Yeah,
isn't an Enneagram show, but like you are so
I'm
like
like it's so to a T that it's like concern like a 5-6 because I'm would be like exceptionally social for a five, I
yes,
guess.
yeah, you are. You definitely are. As a person that went to Georgia Tech, you're definitely social. Whereas I'm like, I don't want to do the research because the research overwhelms me. I would rather
Yeah.
take.
See, that's what calms me down though.
That's so
Like,
funny.
and yeah, like because then it's like I can control it and understand things.
I'm more of
And
like,
until I do that, then I'm overwhelmed.
I want to ask for advice and like I will take a recommendation
Yeah.
over reading Yelp reviews. Like I
Like
went
I don't like
I went through this period
asking
of
until I'm at that
you
point.
don't. Okay. So I need to be better about this because like my therapist always says like you not that I'm such an external processor like I talk to my mom like
Hmm.
3 times a day, but she's going to Alaska
See, I'm
right now.
probably too internal. Yeah. So we're just talking to each other
I
today.
know. Or like talking to myself
Maybe a
or
3 hour call.
yeah, no, I true and my mom is just such a good I mean, we could that could be a whole other episode of how different our moms are and how that shaped us because I
Yeah.
know your mom very well and you know
Yeah.
my mom very well, but
Yeah.
like I find that if for example, like I'm trying to go to Europe in October and I'm like I need to plan that and I've been needing to plan that and research that for 2 months and I just cannot pull the trigger because the
Yeah.
thought of going through and like I get information overload and then I'm like I don't even want to do it because it's too much. Like I have to break it down into really tiny tasks um because I'm just yeah. And like even with emails or like any sort of data synthesization, like that is not and it's funny because I'm like I went to engineering school. Like I thought I'd be really analytical in that
Yeah.
way. And I can be detail oriented, but I think where my best work comes out is when I am allowed to not work under a deadline and be super creative and just like write and do things on my own schedule. I don't want somebody down my throat. Okay. Who gets you don't ask many for people for advice, but who do you ask for advice? What do you do?
Probably Drew.
Yeah.
Um, my mom in some scenarios. And then I'm just such a like I have a, like I'm like a few close friends type people.
Yeah.
Like you, Caroline, and Haley are people that I like probably reach out to the most often, and then have like a handful of other people within my circle. Um, but probably Drew, probably the
Yeah.
most. I really am like so internal, and I feel like I sound like an asshole, but like I've always been a fairly like confident person. So
No.
like once I do make a decision, like I'm not, I've never been somebody that needs to ask 10 people like which dress I should wear, if I'm going somewhere, like type
No.
thing.
No, I could not
So
imagine you
like,
doing that.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that's just like that goes against your like need for not order, but like clarity. Like I don't feel like you're like a
Yeah.
chatter person for the sake of chatter or gossip.
Oh
Like I
God.
feel like that's like you being in a sorority at UGA is it's not funny, but it's like the funniest thought to me
Oh no, I was
because I'm just like how did those two go together? And I okay, so
sitting in the corner.
I feel like does Drew resemble you? Because he's like one of the most important relationships in your life. Does Drew resemble your friends, or is he like on a different class? Because you've dated people before. Like, why are you still doing so well?
um, he's definitely like we're more similar in terms of like he's a very very solutions driven person. So even sometimes I have to like reel him back because I'm like, I can do that part. I don't need you to do that. So it's
Yeah,
like sometimes I do need like the baby coddling because I don't do that for myself, and
no,
that's just not like how I process things at all. So it is like nice if somebody can just kind of, like you're a very good person for me to talk to because you're just like a very soft person to
Yes,
like speak
I'm a
with.
pillow.
Um, yeah,
Just lay your
so
head into me.
he's like 50-50, so which is a good
Yeah.
like
I
balance for
I
me.
think that you're so like literally I've spent thousands of dollars on therapy to get better boundaries of like basically emulate the things you already do. And I'm like, why the fuck do I have to pay so much money for somebody to tell me like don't overcommit, Clara. Like don't
You can just have videos of me every
I
morning.
mean, it would be cheaper, but I feel like that might put a strain on our friendship. Okay, so another thing. This is the get to know Emily Swift part. I feel like you've always been really good at um like not boundary setting because I feel like that's an overused word, but like you're really good at being like I don't do
Yeah,
that.
like a
Like I
buzzword.
am like
Mhm.
I that is like a rule that I've made for myself. Like I just love how
Yeah.
you're like if you're dating somebody, you're like they have an eye mask at my place. Like you are so light sensitive that you're like not really worried about maybe I'm wrong. Like not how you're perceived, but you're like, hey, this is what works for me. Like I have to sleep, and in order to do that, like I have to have an eye mask.
Yeah.
So you would like pack it over to the person. Like even if you've been on 3 dates with a guy, like that's your plan. So I wrote
Yeah.
some
No,
things
literally,
down.
that's like how we started dating.
Well, I remember. So I compiled some. So my question was, what are the rules that you live your life by? And these are some things that I kind of know. You are not
Yeah.
somebody who does a lot of social things on the weekdays. You're like really
No, that drains me.
okay. So you can what like talk about that more. Do you like but intramural leagues and
Um,
like you do that?
yeah, since we've moved, I've definitely been a lot more social during the weeks because like I have been going out of my way to make new friends, and I think 95% of meeting people is just like showing up and like building the relationships. Like you can't just do it if you're just like show up once every month. Like that's not how you make friends. So I've been like really lucky in the about 4.5 months we've lived here that like I have made actually like a couple really good friends, and have already kind of made these like I don't want to say like deep and sound corny, but like deeper connections with a couple girls that
Mm-hmm.
like I'm like, oh sweet, like we're fucking friends, like this is
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, definitely doing like one or two things a week, and like I that's not an exhausting source of my energy because it is like exciting and there are people that make me feel good and like I'm doing things that I enjoy
Yeah.
and things like that. But yeah, I definitely my ideal week would not involve more than like two things during the weekdays.
Mine would, but that's how we're different. So yeah, I feel like you're also good about sleep. Like we always were like, oh, why do people get sick all the time? It's because they like go to bed at 1 and wake up at 5. Like it's really not that hard. I don't get why people.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not that like
I mean, Drew barely sleeps.
how
I
much does he
just,
sleep?
I'm a sleeper. I mean, if it was like up to me, I would fall asleep at like 9:30 every night, but we get in bed around then and I probably fall asleep between like 10 and 11, but I don't know, depending on the night, he'll fall asleep then, or sometimes I'll just wake up. He'll be like, I was awake till 6, couldn't sleep. Like, so
Yeah.
that's his whole other issue that he has to deal
I
with.
also remember his his Reese's cups by the bed.
The snacks on the side of it, yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Well,
He used to leave Reese's cups on the side of his bed for when he would wake up in the middle of the night in case he was hungry.
I mean, he is like one of the biggest people, not the biggest people I've ever met, but he's like 6'5", right? He's just like a
He's 6'6". He just doesn't stand up straight.
oh. Yeah, and like getting fitted for suits
Yeah.
was such a process for him because I love Drew. I can't wait to visit you guys. This is making me miss him. Okay, so I'm gonna roll in at the 25-minute mark, 24-minute mark, and you know that
Sweet.
there is a like an ask Susan Colin. What was that called? Like dear, it was a Dear Emily.
Oh, I know.
Okay,
Abby.
Dear Abby. So this
Dear
is
Abby.
Dear Emily,
Yeah.
but these are made up scenarios, and I would just like, what
Oh,
advice
perfect.
would you give if okay, so we're gonna do 4 different ones. Also, I don't know why I feel like I'm sitting like
Okay.
an old man with my stomach on my belly and like leaning back.
I just keep having to move around. I
Well,
can't
this
sit
is the
still.
thing with my apartment. I have an air conditioning unit, but it's not central, like it's on the window. And when I turn it on, it's like,
Yeah, that's what our old house was.
and it's so loud that this microphone picks it up and makes it hard for me to edit. So I turn the AC off when I film, but then my butt gets so sweaty and starts sticking to the chair. And I also have the ring light on because I'm vain, and it's just like a super hot studio and I'm sweating. Anyway,
Yeah,
so with that in mind, first question would be, I'm contemplating a job change, but we're going into a recession, but I hate my job, I hate my boss, but I am just like ready to leave, but I've done no research yet. What would you do? What would you advise a person who's like, Emily, like, oh, I hate my job, but I don't know what to do.
So I'm obviously a big proponent of like just not doing things that you don't want to
Yeah.
do. Like I am just in work in general, like I'm not somebody who ever is going to want to like work a shit ton. Like I don't think that's inspiring or like I don't want to do that. I would rather have a good job and like have free time. So if you don't like your job, I would say have like this is where I'm like be
Because
not
like you're
stable,
kind of not, you're like,
responsible,
we're
but
both kind
also
of
like make
fiscally
the leap.
conservative. Like both of us are low key like obsessed with saving
Yeah, yeah,
money.
no, I'm very,
So I'm just like
yeah,
for the listeners out there, we're not going to be crazy people go open credit cards and like don't pay your bills. Like
yeah,
just as
no,
background,
no. That's what I'm like.
don't be an idiot.
So my initial advice would be like, if you have the savings, you're like 3 to 6 month emergency savings. I mean, look for other jobs the second. You should be looking for other jobs if you like your job so that you can always get paid more
Yeah.
money. Like, I've become more of a shark in terms of that lately.
Okay. That's
But
true. That's
yeah,
true.
no, so long as you have base savings, get to that point. Maybe suck it up for 3 more months if you need to get to that point, but be interviewing and fucking negotiate too.
Okay. This I didn't send this one to you. I made a quick change. Okay, so let's say you're back in the office and there's a new person at work and they like really take a liking to you. Like they want to hang out with you a lot. But you hang out with them and they're like fucking weird. But they keep like getting in your grill. What do you do? Because me, Clara, is like, oh, they're lonely. Like they need a friend. And then I bring them along, but they're a buzzkill. Like, what do you do?
First off, I will never work in a situation where I have to go back into an
Okay, yeah, true,
office.
same.
But if I did, no, I'm kidding. Um, I don't know. I mean, I do like, I have a sensitive spot in my heart for people who feel like they don't fit in. So, like, obviously, would try and be very nice, um, and like include them initially. But if they're like truly fucking weird, then like, that's not your problem. Like, there's another weird person in the office you can pawn them off
Okay.
on,
Yeah.
you know? Like, just move them towards different interests. Like, I think you should be kind to people, but I don't think you need to invest like
Your energy.
time and energy into, yeah, like it's not your responsibility, but you should be kind initially at least. Like, I don't think you should be a dick to them, but
What
I
if they
think
clip
offering
their
other
toenails at work
suggestions,
at their
things for
desk?
them to do. Honestly, I would probably find them hilarious. I can think of a couple of my friends that probably would do that.
I'm trying to think of other like psycho like there's the classic like they
Just like
they
crazy
they
person.
heat up tuna in the fridge. I mean, Cameron was kind of a weird place. When your first job,
Oh yeah,
like
it was.
your stories coming back, I'd be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what is going on there? Like you were just in a warehouse. I don't know. I was confused by your works, but I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
you and me and Cece's jobs couldn't have been more different when we lived together. So that was
Oh yeah,
entertaining.
also different.
Okay, so third,
It was fun.
dear Emily, question is, what if I am like, I want to get a hold on like a certain goal? Like I feel like I'm not making any progress on saving money. Let's do money. Yeah, let's just do money first and then I'll go on to the next one. So like I'm being an idiot. And I feel like you actually, not that Drew was being an idiot, but you
Yeah.
actually really helped him when you first started dating and he really helped you.
Oh yeah, no. When we first started dating, he looked at me and he goes, "I live above my means," and I was like, "Oh no." I was like, "That's not gonna work." So like he had like nothing crazy, but he had some credit card debt and stuff just because he had been living like a 24, 25-year-old boy.
That's so funny that he said
And so
that.
just kind of whipped him into shape. Yeah, he literally I was like,
Oh my
what?
God.
Um, but financially, I would say, as cut and dried as it is, like, what excuses are you making for yourself as to why you're not saving money? Like, oh, because I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. Do you have to do it? Like, choose a couple things that like really make you happy. I've just always been a more like, I did not make a lot of money at all at my last job, but like I've always been able to save, and I've never not been able to do the things
Yep.
that I want to do just because I am able to practice like delayed gratification. Like, and I just think that's such a big thing that can help you in life in
Seriously.
general if you can kind of practice that in like most parts of your life. So I don't know. It's just like, do you need this like extra little bullshit, or would you rather save up and buy a flight?
Mm.
Like, so I think just prioritizing. Um, I am a big proponent of just like money wise, just knowing how much money you have. I write down, sounds crazy, but I write down every
That's not
single purchase
crazy.
I make. I have a spreadsheet, like it's just in my phone. So like if I looked it up, I could tell you to the dollar how much money I have. And I think that's half the battle of just knowing what's coming in and what's coming out. And that's not even, I mean, it takes, I don't know, cumulatively 15, 20 minutes of my month each month. Like it's a very, it takes 2 seconds anytime you do anything. So once you start realizing what you're spending money on, that also makes a big difference. And you can kind of
Yeah.
pick and choose what you can cut back on. And there's so many like fun free things. I don't know. I would rather just be outside at a park with people anyways half the time. So like suggesting things like that instead of like, now going out to eat is so expensive. Like we're still doing it, and we definitely need to cut back because it's literally just so insanely expensive.
Um,
Um,
okay. So you went on a first date with a guy. Dear Emily, I went on a first date with a guy. I should have, fuck, I like really missed the opportunity there. I read those so badly. Okay, well, fourth time's the charm. Okay. Dear Emily,
Perfect.
I went on a first date with a guy last Thursday and he hasn't texted me yet, but I really want to text him to hang out again. He's not that good of a texter, but I'm feeling conflicted. What would you do? Thanks. Lonely Heart 222.
I
I
feel like you
know.
know
It's for the
exactly what I'll
audience.
say, and it would, yeah. No, 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 I know. Initially, I would say, I mean, don't text him. There's not really like a bad texter. I just think is the most bullshit thing ever. Like if somebody's interested in you at least in the beginning, they'll put forth the effort to be a good texter. But if you don't, like, I don't know, I just think if a guy wants to do something, they're gonna do it. Like you don't need to baby a grown ass man. But if you do want to do it, then you just have to understand that like that's the precedent you're setting, and that means that you're okay with that. So if you're okay with having to be the one reaching out and planning and doing everything, then that's
Yeah.
completely fine. If that's like your jam, that's what you want to do. So it's more just when you're the person who's like reaching out and putting in a majority of the work, and then that's upsetting you, like that's when it becomes a like, then you just can't allow people to treat you that way, like type thing, like in from a I guess I'm just thinking of it in a like just scenario of like girl to guy type thing, because I only have known like
Yeah.
heterosexual dating. um in terms of kind of, I don't know, I guess chivalry of the guy is kind of supposed to court you, whatever. But yeah, I'm a believer if a guy wants to do something, they will. But if you want to take the reins, then that's totally fine. That just means that that's what you are okay with. And I personally am not. Like, I need a guy to kind of be more assertive and things like that. But if you're okay with that, then you're okay with that. And
Yeah,
that's
I
totally
think
fine too.
the problem and the trouble is that girls say they're okay with it, but they're not. And like you need to be honest with
And they're
yourself.
not. Yeah, that's pretty much how it always goes. Exactly. And if like you truly are okay with that, then great. Like that's fantastic. But most of the time, any girl that I've ever known who says that, and then they're not so happy with how things turn out. And I don't know, as not fun as it is, it's not going to get better if it's not that great in the very, 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 very beginning. Um, so yeah, that would
Okay,
be my.
this is gonna wrap up the view. God, that show sucks. The interview, the view. Um, it was good. It was good. Now it's not good. So this was a question that I got on my Ask Me Anything, which will be released before this one, but I want to know what you think.
Mhm.
Is ketchup a smoothie? Do you think ketchup is a smoothie? Like when you get down to the brass tacks of it all.
Is it just no, I hate this fucking is a hot dog sandwich.
A hot dog is
I
a
mean, I would
sandwich.
say no. I think a smoothie has. I think I don't even
Okay.
want to answer that question.
I just did, so
Quite
I'll do it
frankly,
for you.
I think it's no. I think a smoothie has to have like a
Okay.
fruit in it.
But
Otherwise, a
tomatoes are a
milkshake would be a
smoothie. Or
smoothie.
tomatoes are a fruit.
Or oh yeah, I guess it's
I
a
think of
vegetable.
smoothies as having to be
Ugh,
sweet
no, it's just tomato and like water and
and
salt.
sugar.
Yeah, yeah, like it has to be a fruity flavor. Like tomato is not a fruity flavor, you know?
Okay. I'm gonna answer
Answers
that
no.
no, but I needed the Ask Me Anything, which is gonna be really vulnerable and like hard hitting and um just like really eye opening for all the fans. I've been watching vloggers lately and it's just like
Much
such an
awaited.
outsized sense of importance, and like as I do this project, which I do like shamelessly promote, I will not lie, it's such a weird, like most of what I say is a joke. Like if I'm like please like DM me, I'm like I'm
Yeah,
still a
yeah.
real person.
Like
But
don't.
it becomes, we get into
No,
MLM
that makes sense.
territory when it, or not MLM territory, but like influencer territory, and that is can be a whole other topic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, Emily, if is there anything else you'd like to share, or any parting words or advice?
Oh God. I mean, no, I don't have anything. Just
Be
be
kind
nice.
to that.
People without emotions do have emotions.